Sure. Mr. Grippo,
Here.
Ms. Hallen,
Here.
Mr. White,
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Excellent. Believe we will dispense with the pledge for this meeting, if that's okay with everyone. All right, cool. Well, I guess we can go in order then. Mr. Solon, is there any public comment for this meeting?
Not at this point.
All right, great. So we'll begin with 9130. Okay, that has the let's see. Do I need to share my screen, or Jeff, can you
Somebody
share your
needs
screen?
to.
Yeah, I can do it.
I think you have the master copy anyway, right?
So this is 9130 committees. Everything in black is the same, but there was a desire months ago to really provide definitions for each committee. So that's what you see in the blue down below, the modifications.
Okay.
It's a 4-page document. So, I don't know if anybody has a specific item they would like me to stop at. This is for a third reading, so we've been through it twice already.
Right. Did we make any changes from the last? Did we make changes last time? I don't. Were we waiting for some information? Maybe it's. I don't remember. So.
I don't see.
So all the blue is actually things that we've already seen before. So okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Got it.
I wasn't at this meeting, the policy meeting last time. I forget. I was double booked for something and Marlene did it.
So I think there's one thing that I just wanted to bring up, and that's under Personnel Committee responsibilities, which is on page 3. Looks like. If I recall, there have been times where there have been job descriptions for administrative staff. Like when the assistant superintendent came up, there may have been other times as well where at some point the board had to approve those types of job descriptions. And Jeff, I was wondering if you could just sort of expand as to where the source of the job descriptions come from, and historically, did the personnel committee approve of them before going to the full board, or how does that process normally work?
That's a good question, because it is in board policy. My job description, Vin's and Marlene's, the superintendent, COO, and assistant superintendent are all in policy. Yeah, so I think it's a good question, whether that's a decision of the policy committee or personnel, or if it's something that they work on collaboratively.
Yeah, because I wasn't sure where the descriptions actually came from, if it was codified in policy or if it was a culmination of like you, state law, and HR like kind of put stuff all together and then send it to us to look at, or I wasn't sure what should be, if it needed to be clarified, because I figured now would be a good time to do it if we had to.
Yeah, I'm just curious about when the last time (1996) we revised Yeah, May 1996 was the last time like the superintendent job description was reviewed. Assistant superintendent was, well, that was when we were looking at the contingency planning. We made a modification to assistant superintendent and chief operating officer, if you remember.
Right.
But we didn't really go into their job descriptions that much. It was minor tweaks. That was April 2020.
All right. Tim, I know you had a question, so go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Adam. A little bit more broadly than just the assistant superintendents. So I'm just putting on my old council cap, and I know I'm not there anymore, but the council would generally vote on a job description. The personnel committee would vote on a job description. And I'm just wondering, what's a job description of a teacher per se? Is it codified in state law and then that's just known and it doesn't deviate from that? Because the assistant superintendents, I know, because we changed from assistant superintendent for Greg and then made Vin the COO, even though the roles are similar. It was the board, I think, that made those changes. So is it like all the jobs in your world, or maybe teachers are specific, but then like facilities is something that the board votes on? I don't know. I'm just curious.
Yeah, the board only addresses the job descriptions for the 3 executive leadership positions. A job description actually could even have union implications when it's not negotiated with union, because it could be construed as a change in working conditions. So we have relatively broad discretion in our job descriptions for teachers, and we keep them pretty limited in scope. And we work as things evolve, as needs evolve, we kind of address them as they come up. But same with, secretaries are a little bit more rigid in terms of job descriptions. Maintenance staff has a job description, but we are constantly kind of tweaking those things, and we don't run them all past the board. Really, it's those 3 executive leadership positions.
Okay. And is that basically just by default that's the way it's been done, or is that state law, or I'm just curious?
Not state law. It's the way it's been done, and the descriptions have been working for us in terms of individual employees below the executive level and administrators. But yeah, it's not state law.
Okay. I guess the thing that goes through my mind is I think it would be valuable for basically everything that goes to the full board to run through a committee first. And so if the board's going to be voting on something, I'd like one of the committees to take it up. And so what I was actually thinking about as a tweak to this, and I consider relatively just a tweak, just for each of the committees to have a catch-all that says not necessarily limited to, these items, because I could foresee a situation in which something like, if you look at these 4 specific items, none of them really touch the assistant superintendent. And rather than getting into a discussion about should it be policy or personnel, just leave it open-ended so there's no impression that it's limited to these things, and it could be something else.
Well, I don't know if I could get some clarification on that. So are you talking about specific to job descriptions in the personnel role, or are you speaking more broadly to all of the different committees, and anything that's going before the full board should have already been vetted by a committee?
Both of those things, really.
All right. The latter of which is, I can think of situations where maybe that didn't happen or doesn't necessarily need to.
No, it doesn't necessarily need to. I just don't want to be in a situation where it's not listed among its responsibilities. Therefore,
Responsibilities.
shouldn't be discussing it when. I just think it should be a little bit more open-ended. It's like a job. My guess is many of your job descriptions have something at the end says and other responsibilities as required.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense. That none of these, I don't think, are meant to be an exclusive and fully exhaustive list.
Okay.
That it's meant to provide some guidance. So
Okay.
let's take a look at from the top. I'll share again. And
sorry if I missed it.
no. Let's take a. I don't know that it says that, and so
Yeah.
let's take a look at it and see. I just want to double check and see if we were to add something that this is not an exhaustive list, and could be subject to modification. Oops. Yeah, so here are the standing committees, and it just kind of outlines what the standing committees do. No committee shall have the power other than to recommend. So, there isn't something in here that says that the list of responsibilities highlights the committee work and is not fully exhaustive. We could put a statement to that effect in there. That's what the members want to do.
Catherine, you had a comment?
Yeah, can you scroll up, Jeff, a little bit past to maybe the beginning of,
Yep.
so, yeah, no, go down, sorry. After the list of standing committees, because you could do like, here it says curriculum committee responsibilities.
Yeah.
You could say that before that the responsibilities of each of the committees shall include,
but not be limited to.
right, the following, you know what I mean? That's a pretty easy fix. My only comment is, and I totally appreciate what Tim's saying, and I think it's a good idea, but if the purpose of this description was to get us, kind of a real roadmap as to what these committees are doing,
Yeah.
you are introducing a little bit of loosey-goosiness, which is fine because we didn't have this much before, right? So, exclusive of each of the responsibilities of each committee or the functions of each committee.
Following provides highlights for responsibilities of each committee and are not.
Yeah. Jeez.
I have
Take
a new
some typing.
computer, and the keyboard spacing is slightly different.
Oh, that's really annoying. Okay, and then if you take out responsibilities, and then after curriculum committee, you could take out the word responsibilities because it sort of should be for all of them.
Right.
Yeah.
Carol, you want to grab the responsibilities on each one? Thanks. Is that in line with what you were thinking, Tim?
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense.
Adam?
Oh, my only question would be if these are not intended to be exclusive or exhaustive, then doesn't that mean that someone finally would have to make a decision as to where something would be included? Would that fall to the chairman, or where would
I think it falls to the chair.
Okay.
Based on what's said, up here. Oops, I'm sorry. Again, new keyboard.
Oh, nice picture.
Yeah, I have no idea where that is, but
it's beautiful.
Let's see, what am I trying to get to here? Yeah.
I could also foresee situations where you have where it makes sense in two different committees to have a discussion, each of them to take it up separately, but for different,
Yeah.
almost everything touches budget. So if there's a personnel or a policy, oftentimes, so budget or finance committee may want to discuss it. I don't want to create overkill or anything here. It's just to, that I want things to, before it gets to the full board, I do think items should be vetted by committee.
Well, I mean, the superintendent's job description is an example that you brought up. It's indicated in our policy, but certainly, personnel, it would be something that would make sense there too. In the actual draft of the policy for the personnel committee, right in 9130, it does it talks about the process of the hiring of the superintendent, lead the process of evaluation of the superintendent. So, could you argue that that's where the job description work should go, or should that go in the policy committee?
Yeah, that's not something I'm trying to discuss. That's not really the intent. It was just more broadly speaking, like job descriptions. Historically, what has it been? You explained that, so.
Yeah.
Okay. So with that one little change, then I think, well, I don't know if it's little, but I guess it serves as a release valve, I suppose, right? A catch-all.
Right.
Okay.
Disclaimer.
Yeah. All right. Any other comments on 9130?
Yeah, one other for me.
Okay.
With regard to policy, I don't know if this would under policy it mentions monitor implementation of Board of Ed policy. I'm just wondering if it seems to me like a lot of our stuff falls under state statute. So even add that, just monitor board policy and the related state statute aspects.
Okay.
So,
Trying to think.
policy indicates monitor implementation of Board of Education policy. I think that is a generic phrase which would be inclusive of compliance with state law, because as state law changes, policy changes. So we're kind of monitoring that. We could really get into the weeds on all of these if we wanted to.
Yeah, that's fine. What we discussed before, we're basically avoiding the weeds, and I prefer that.
Yeah, because 95% of the time when we're making a change here in policy, it's because state law changed.
Right.
For some reason. So yeah, so the monitoring, we'll leave that.
Can I also just say one other thing that my experience on the board has been that there really hasn't been a problem really figuring out which committee should be looking at a particular issue, or whether it's I just wouldn't want to get too rigid about how this all works, because I think it works pretty well already, and I think it is up to the chair to kind of maybe control or monitor how things are being handled, but I don't feel like we haven't been able to figure it out to date. So I don't know if that gives you any comfort, Tim. But
no, I mean, I'm sure it can all work out. I was thinking about like I mentioned before, in a lot of job descriptions, it just has a catch-all at the bottom and any other responsibilities that,
Right. Yep.
Okay. Any further comment on 9130? All right, great. So we will move on to 9321.
And I'll throw that up on the screen now. This one is really kind of small tweak. where we indicated the secretary shall supervise notification of board meetings, meaning the secretary of the board, not executive secretary. So that was really the significant change. I remember, if you recall, I think even maybe at the first reading, and maybe Carol could clarify this for me, but I want to say there was stuff about, no, that was a different one. I was thinking about, like, remember the one with the tapes and they need to be kept certain places?
Right. No, but this one said that the secretary was responsible for making the notification.
Right, the
thing, so
secretary of the
we-
board.
Right.
Posting of minutes and things like that.
Yep.
Yep.
So,
I think we had made that modification at the first read.
yes.
Are there any, is there any further comment on this one?
No, sir.
Okay. Tim, just making sure.
I'm good.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's all we have on this agenda. Can I have a motion to, or are there any motions for these two policies? Is there anything that says, shall I make a motion?
Well, I need the numbers again. I
Okay,
can't-
sure.
9130 and 9321.
9130.
9130 and 9321.
Okay. And Carol will put in the titles thereof. So I move that, I think that we're moving policy 91-30 and policy 93-21 to the full board for a third reading. Is that
Third and final reading, yeah.
third and final reading?
Yep.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Question or the, yeah.
Oh, what? All right,
Unanimous.
it is unanimous.
Thank
okay.
you.
Excellent.
No public comments either.
No further public comment. Any new
sir.
business, I guess, or anything like that? No new business?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah. I did
I
actually-
always have to ask. Yeah, RTC, Tim's always the last one.
I
So
know,
raise
I
your
can
hand.
imagine. Somehow I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking this is probably policy, hiring policy. Not to discuss tonight. I don't think we need to discuss it tonight. I guess I was just curious about our policy on background checks, and we could discuss it at a later date. But I just wanted to mention it as something to.
Well, we have a
review.
policy on,
Yeah, and it
We
was
do.
revised last year as we went through. If you guys, that were here last year working on a lot of this, if you recall, the fingerprinting commission,
Mhm.
Oh,
state
that one?
committee I was on. Yeah, that all got resolved, and we worked out a policy. So, maybe tomorrow Carol will forward you guys everything that we have on background and policy.
Yeah, that one was like
Background
2
checks
years.
and policy.
Wasn't that like 2 years in the making because the
It
legislature
was.
kept- Okay.
Because what happened is our state law didn't follow federal law, and so the FBI was
Oops.
threatening Connecticut to no longer do background checks, and so eventually we changed the state law and changed our policy.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I remember that. And then, and that's the one where it's there's a huge backlog, or the background check doesn't follow the teacher, or it does, or
They take months, so we hire somebody contingent upon a successful background check. Because if we waited for the background check, it could be 5 months, which is a little unnerving, obviously, depending on the role of the teacher and what level of, or coach or whoever, and what level of supervision they have. But, they did put in the state put in a new practice, I don't know, Carol, 2-3 years ago, where if you know you're hiring somebody, you have to send a form to their previous employer to confirm that they didn't have a verified DCF issue, because that will typically come back faster than even a background check will. But the time on certain districts can be really lengthy. So, but we'll send you everything on that tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right. Is there any other new business? No. All right.
Sure.
Seeing none. Looks like. Can I have a motion? Yes,
adjourn?
sir. Okay.
That's a
Like
motion.
I said, I'll tell you.
Second.
Withdraw McGraw on that motion.
Yeah, I
So
don't.
if you're getting on a question or-
I've done that before. Where I've made a motion to adjourn, and someone wanted to speak, and then everyone went adjourn, and then I have to deal with that after. So okay, so we have a motion to adjourn, and we have a second.
Yes.
All in favor? All right, the ayes have it.